How's the sound, Mike? We good? Can you folks hear me in the back? Jim, you can hear me? Thank you, Jim. Just making sure. Folks, my name is Paul Aliotto, and I just want to welcome you. Thank you. It's so good to see so many friends from the schools and from the community. Tonight's a night that will be one to remember for sure. So welcome to the 2024 Wall of Pride Induction Ceremony. I used to write speeches, and I would have 3 or 4 pages. Now I just put it on this. It's what a freeing experience retirement is. Thank you so much for being here. And it's important to remember that tonight is all about community. It's about our kids. It's about our families. And it is about achievement. And it's become an important part of the purpose for the foundation to celebrate these things with you. And we have our foundation board members here, and really grateful. We started the foundation back in 2011, and we have some fantastic board members with Katie Infantino and Marilyn Robin, who's our treasurer, and Kim Derenbacher, and Kim Birmingham, who's our chair, and Brianna Blair, our student representative, who's with the camera, and Sue Seiler really ties it all together. And I'm also grateful, we started an alumni foundation a few years ago, and we found out about this woman named Marcia Miller, who just who took the ball and ran with it down the field and has scored a touchdown year after year after year. So I'm really grateful to you, and I applaud your efforts and what you've done for the school system and the community, and I'd like to acknowledge the board at this time. Thank you for all of your hard work. Tonight is about the unlimited potential that exists in Dansville. It's about small towns. It's about what is possible from people who come from small towns. Towns like Dansville represent the fabric of our nation. And there are great possibilities, and we have living examples of those possibilities here tonight and represented by the Historical Association. The foundation believes in these values, and we turned this around into a revenue generator. And over the past 13 years, we have reinvested tens of thousands of dollars in the education of our students. We've financed everything from robotics and STEM to the arts and music, and you'll see some of our musicians here tonight, our choral musicians. We've also invested in the emotional well-being of students and staff at Dansville Central School District through our Therapy Dog program. We turn it all around, and the funding is really focused on enrichment. At one time, we had this noble idea that, we could make up for the deficits caused by a lack of state funding. That's a gap that's a little too far for us to reach. But what we can do is fund the projects of teachers to do the really fun stuff and the cool stuff and the stuff that's not minimalistic and has to comply with what the state wants us to do, which is important in its own right. But then there's the fun stuff too, the reasons that teachers actually get into this in the first place. We want to fund those kinds of activities that we remember as kids that made us interested in education and wanting to become teachers. So we encourage more and more teachers this year to apply for mini grants to do the cool stuff with kids. And tonight is really focused on those kids, our community, and the unlimited potential that is Dansville. So thank you for being here. Welcome to tonight's event. And Dan Dixon will be our master of ceremonies throughout it all. Make sure you duck because there are going to be some shots thrown tonight. And then he's actually going to take us through the dinner process.
Thank you, Dr. Aliotto. Out of all the introductions, that one was definitely the most recent, so thank you. All right, we're going to get started with dinner. I'd like to welcome everybody. My name is Dan Dixon. I've worked for the district for 26 years. My brother told me some people get less time for murder. So we're going to get started. Let's have some dinner. We'll start right here with this first table. You guys can go up. Okay, we're going to start the program. I got the nod from the back. I think we're on time. We're on schedule. Before we go any further, I'd like to introduce our new superintendent for Dansville, Kelly Zimmerman. Kelly? Welcome to Dansville. We're very glad to have you, even though you are a graduate of Hornell. We won't hold that against you. 1991, Dansville 13, Hornell 6. Go Mustangs! There was quite a few people on the team. I guess I would be one of those people. So, thank you, Peter. We do have the chamber singers coming in, so I'll introduce them in just a minute, and we will get started with the program. Okay, this time I'd like to introduce the Dansville Chamber Singers, directed by Lindsay Buckle. You leave this off.
Yonder come day, Thank you so much. So you might recognize that. That's a pretty well-known gospel piece called Yonder Come Day. Our next one is very different, and it's called Famine Song, and it's supposed to create that feeling of desolation that happened in the Sudan back in the 80s during the famine during that time. It's a really beautiful, beautiful piece. We hope you enjoy Famine Song.
Please free my
out of 80-degree weather in October is called Blow, Blow, Thou Winter Wind. And it is the Shakespearean text that many people are familiar with, set in a really interesting meter. And there's also some very cool aleatoric moments at the beginning and the end to kind of give that creepy winter feeling to the song. So we hope you enjoy our final piece, Blow, Blow, Thou Winter Wind.
Thank you to the Dansville Chamber Singers. Thank you, Ms. Buckle. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to begin with the reason why we are here. I would like to start off, if anybody has a drink in front of them or anything that you have, just with a little toast. At the high school, the motto is learn, lead, and succeed. And I would like to raise our glasses to all of our inductees who have obviously never stopped learning, leading, or succeeding, even after the last bell. So cheers. My drink was all the way over here, sorry. Okay, so our first inductee, Margaret E. Hondelink, represented by Marcia Freeman and introduced by Peter Hartman.
Before I start this, I want to say I mentioned to the altos as they were leaving, 4 altos against all those sopranos? Way to go. It is my pleasure to present to you Margaret Eleanor Hondelink. Not bad looking for 116 years old. How many peas are there in a pod? 1. A-P-O-D. What's the capital of France? Anybody? Capital F. Say, did you have your radio on last night? Why, yes, I did. So, how did it fit? Margaret loved puns and conundrums and one-liners. Her sense of humor came from her missionary father. Missionary work was tough work, and missionary work needed a relief valve, and that was humor. She was born in Japan. An astonishing 32 members of her immediate family were missionaries and clergymen, introducing people to Christianity through the Dutch Reformed Church, the Reformed Church of America. Highly educated, deeply motivated to their sacred and serious task, their work had a strong influence on Margaret's values, work ethic, and beliefs. She learned Japanese in the family circle. In later years, she presented programs on Japanese history and culture while dressed in authentic clothing and speaking the language for emphasis. From her immigrant grandparents, she learned the Dutch language. Her school curriculum included Greek, Latin, and French. Small wonder then that she developed an interest in language as a career. Graduating with honors from Hope College in Michigan in 1928, Margaret spent several years teaching French and Latin. And since she had a musical background, she was assigned band, orchestra, and choir, all at the same time as well. Growing up in Rochester, Margaret had spent 14 summers by the time she graduated at the Eastman School of Music, studying piano, organ, trumpet, and cello. Music was her first love, and eventually she traded French verbs and Latin case endings for full-time study at Eastman, earning a bachelor's degree with honors. On September 2, 1935, she arrived in Dansville to fill the position of vocal music teacher. Her first visitor was Bayard Knapp, the editor of the Dansville Breeze. How did he find out about her? We don't know. But he must have sensed a story. They remained lifelong friends. A future editor, Orville Allen, had been her classmate in high school. Jim Conway, another future editor, became her student. They all watched as her program and her popularity grew. And what about the students? They loved her. She had a warm, friendly, welcoming personality and a smile that put everyone at ease. She quickly became the most popular teacher in school. She liked everyone, but she developed a special bond, however, with the teenagers. If you have a teenager and you have a special bond, good for you. Adolescents found in her a good friend a sympathetic and encouraging counselor who listened patiently no matter what the problem was. Many a teen found her to be the best of advisors and an excellent role model besides. Classroom discipline, when needed, was administered in mild terms, and she was always focused on their common task. So popular was Margaret that the 40 students in choir her first year became 100 students the second year, and the third year, 200. And by 1946, there were 290 students in 5 choirs on the stage. The class of 1944 dedicated their yearbook tour, and 40 years later, the class of 1948 established a scholarship in her name. That's a long time to honor somebody. Did we mention the operettas? Pirates and maidens, sailors and pretty girls, royalty and royal maids. Margaret loved operettas, and she presented them frequently. Gilbert and Sullivan's Mikado and HMS Pinafore were perennial favorites and drew students in large numbers. And it wasn't just students. For one memorable program, she employed the talents of 8 faculty members. Kelly, where are you? Get your teachers busy. She employed the talents of 8 faculty members and the entire maintenance staff. So we honor her this evening. But why was she so special? Well, her influence didn't stop at the classroom door. She was so involved in the community that a friend of hers once commented, "You do the work of 3 women every day." Beginning in 1939, she had a piano studio in her home, teaching a full complement of students of all ages and abilities, old folks, young folks, and everybody in between. During World War II, she conducted ecumenical choirs in the Angelus Choir, the Angelus Hour series. She worked with women's barbershop groups and encouraged her students to organize small vocal ensembles. This wasn't small. Small is 4 and 5 and 6. She encouraged them to organize small vocal ensembles to entertain in the community for civic groups and fraternal organizations. Eventually, she had over 100 groups working in the community. For 36 years, she led the music program at the Presbyterian Church, which for a time involved 2 choirs and an orchestra in the Sunday school. For school concerts, she frequently recruited student pianists to assist the regular adult accompanist when extra hands were needed at the piano. Some of those students, I think, are here tonight. And the birthday cards. If you ever received a birthday card from Margaret, would you raise your hand? Okay. And the Rotary Club. Any Rotarians in the room? There's some. Okay. Didn't take the Rotarians long to discover her musical abilities, and they quickly engaged her as their club pianist. 56 years of perfect attendance. No wonder they called her the sweetheart of Rotary. In 1987, when they first accepted women into the Rotary Club membership, guess who was the first woman Rotarian in New York State? And we think maybe in a larger region than that. She was an honorary Rotarian, then she was Rotarian of the Year, and in 1991, she was the recipient of a Paul Harris Fellowship, which was Rotary's highest award. Throughout her long life, Margaret was the recipient of more than 24 awards and public honors, and I learned about 2 more of them just tonight. This is one, including Citizen of the Day on a national radio program in 1950, Personality of the Week in Dansville in 1955, and Dansville's very first female Citizen of the Year in 1969. What was that about birthday cards? She hated to lose touch with her former students. She played organ for more than 200 of their weddings, and she once commented that she sent out about 5 birthday cards a day. Who's good at math? 1,825 birthday cards a year, every year. And then there was Christmas. You can imagine. Part of Margaret's work was a legacy to the future. More than 40 of us wanted to be just like her, and we chose to follow our teacher into music education and professional performance careers. Countless others have joined bands, choirs, orchestras, and small groups of all kinds as volunteers, using skills learned from Margaret. If you were ever a student of hers and you've been involved in any kind of music as an adult, please raise your hand. Okay, I expected a lot of older people, I guess. 59 years have passed since her retirement, and she has given us a legacy. The president of the Women's Board of Foreign Missions, that's a national office, of the Reformed Church in America, once remarked to Margaret's mother, "Your talented daughter is passing on to others something of the richness of her own life." And that, I believe, was her secret.
Mine's much shorter. And as a protege of Margaret's, I'm more than pleased to be here to represent her. If she were here, she would be extremely honored and humbled. She was a very humble person at being recognized for something that was her passion, which was music. She came to Dansville to fill a teaching position. She found her calling, and she stayed a lifetime. Margaret imparted her vast knowledge and expertise to a multitude of Dansvillians, not only through the classroom, but through church choir, through piano and organ lessons, and also through her numerous civic responsibilities. Many of Margaret's students followed in her footsteps, becoming music teachers, performers, or both. On behalf of all the people whose lives she touched and made richer through music, I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for Margaret E. Hondelink. Our next inductee, Edward E.J. Monster, introduced by Mr. Dave Mapes.
Before I begin, by the way, probably don't need the microphone. Teachers have a tendency to project. And I wanted to thank a couple of people that really made this possible. First of all, Kim Birmingham. She kept me informed, made sure that I was up to speed on all the things that were going to be going on today, and I appreciate her guidance. Thank you, Kim. Also, I'm honored to be here. And one of the reasons that I am here is because of a lifelong friendship with the man that's behind me. To tell you that I'm pleased to be invited to this occasion and introducing Edward J. Monster would be an understatement. When EJ's brother, Josh, formerly Deputy Josh Monster, asked me if I would write a letter of recommendation. I was more than pleased to do so. Josh, I know, has played a big role in this, and just a little quick story. My grandson, who was going to Livonia Central School, came to me, this was several years ago, and he goes, "Papa," he said, "a police officer came up to me in school today." And I said, "Well, what did he say?" He said, "Oliver, your papa was my teacher." And then he laughed. Anyway, that's Josh. And Josh has recently left the sheriff's department. He's changed jobs a few times, but I think he's extremely happy. Anyway, Wall of Pride Committee. Wall of Pride Committee. Well, it struck me that EJ was a terrific choice to be included with the people of Dansville who have made dramatic impacts on this community and the world beyond. So, of course, I wrote the letter. Here I am. Now, grant me a moment of musing before I tell you about my student and friend EJ. While considering the Wall of Pride recognition, I thought, isn't pride one of the 7 deadly sins? Oh, according to Proverbs chapter 16, verse 18, pride goeth before the fall. However, King Solomon, I'm certain, was then talking about self-pride. He wasn't talking about our pride that we have in recognizing the accomplishments of our friends, our neighbors, whose gifts to this community have made our lives richer. Reading the names of previous recipients on the Wall of Fame and Wall of Pride, there isn't one of them that I don't know or have had personal contact with. They've been friends of mine. They've been colleagues of mine, and some of them students of mine. Each of these Pride members are and should be role models for all of us, and especially for our youth. You know, that being said, shouldn't the contributions of the people on the Wall of Pride be properly imbued with our youth? Maybe as an educational institution, we should consider a unit in our social studies classes called People We Need to Know, History 101. And certainly the people that are on that wall are people that we need to know. And we need to tell our kids, this is what happens when you care. As an educator for 32 years, a board member for 10, it has been my pleasure to meet over 5,000 students and their families, of which EJ, of course, is an exceptional one. There are, however, in my estimation, many other exceptional students here in Dansville who exemplify the warrant of pride. When I go to the bank, when I go to the post office, when I go to the car garage or the grocery store, a restaurant, golf course, police department, our medical facilities, etc., I feel a tremendous joy knowing that I had some small part in the education of these citizens and former students who serve me every day. How could a teacher ask for more? I hope all of you had a little access to EJ's biography. And now you know some of the experiences of his exceptional career. In his biography, it tells about his education, it tells about his work for the United States Department of State. There listed are the places and situations where he has served over the past 24 years. But what's missing in that biography is between the lines. While EJ was in Dansville, he was in my global studies class, and he took an active part in the student council, of which I was his advisor. He worked to raise funds for the American Red Cross. He shared information and activities with the other students in the high school. He went with me to conferences across the state to meet with other student council members to learn about leadership and citizenship. Much of his commitment to community, however, was learned from his mom. She volunteered in my high school class to help students with homework, projects, and writing assignments, and she was terrific. When he left school, excuse me, we kept in contact, and at first through the years with regular mail. You can read from his biography that he was posted to Poland. But what you wouldn't know is that the mail came to me and he sent me pictures of himself with Lech Walesa, then the former president of Poland, the man who would help break Poland away from the Soviet Union. He wrote to me about political upheaval in Bolivia. He wrote to me about the poverty that he experienced in that South American country. I dashed off messages of worry and concern when I heard of the bombing in Kenya while he was posted there. I heard of the extraordinary people of Malawi in southern Africa and their recovery from colonialism. Most recently, our messages have been light and fun because he was posted in Canada and he showed me pictures of all the beautiful places in the Canadian Rockies and the enjoyment that his family had sharing with the Canadians. When my granddaughter was in 9th grade and she was learning about U.S. government, my wife Ellen and I took her to Washington, D.C. to meet E.J. and his lovely wife Holly. E.J. then was posted to the White House Communications Room and Situation Room. What you may not know is that while he was there, he wasn't just doing things, he was actually making the calls for the President of the United States and other officials. Not only did he make the calls, but when the call was completed, he was charged with listening to the entire conversation and taking notes. Those notes would then be turned over to the National Security Advisor, and they would make decisions from there. You might say he had the real inside information. We were thrilled to have that complete tour of the White House and the West Wing with E.J. and Holly to see how he worked and his part that he played in our government's international relations. Now E.J. and Holly, with their 3 children, who are here tonight, are back in the United States, but who knows for how long? Wherever his nation has sent him, he has served with honesty and distinction. His work with visas has helped many people go to other countries safely and legally around the world. His representation to other nations gives us all pride in our part of his upbringing. Our honoree is one person who has made a difference not only here, but on 4 continents. He still calls Dansville home. I proudly present Edward J. Monster.
Thank you, Mr. Mapes. I know over the years you've asked me to call you Dave, but I just can't. You're still Mr. Mapes to me in my mind. I can't get rid of that. First and foremost, thank you to everyone here in this room for your part in raising me and making me the person that I am today. I am so incredibly grateful that I got to grow up in this amazing town, and it's so good to be back here with you all today. Thank you. Thank you to my family, my mom in heaven who's always with me, my dad, my brother, my aunts and uncles, my wife, my kids. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything. I want to share a story. So I was in 8th grade, and I was required to take a foreign language, and I signed up for French. And I loved that French class. I was over there in that French class with Holly, sitting in the back, yes. And something really just turned on for me that I enjoyed learning foreign languages, and I really enjoyed learning about the world. I wanted to also, in 9th grade, learn Spanish. So I went to my guidance counselor, Barb Dance, and I said to her, Mrs. Dance, I would really like to learn both French and Spanish next year. Can we do this? Can we make this happen? And I remember, as clear as day, she looked back at me and she said, "Why would you want to learn 2 foreign languages? Isn't 1 enough?" And I said, "No, I've taken a liking to learning French, and I think I really want to learn Spanish as well." And she heard me out, she heard my explanation, and then she looked up at me and she said, "Okay, we'll see what we can do." And looking back on it, I don't think I realized at the time what a pain in the neck that was for Mrs. Dance and for the entire junior high school at the time, because Spanish 9 and French 9 were offered at the same period in the day. So in order to make this happen for me, they had to rearrange the entire schedule so that the class would be offered at a different time. And they did. And I'm here today because of that. The power of educators, the power of Mrs. Dance and Cindy Hinman, who was the principal at the time, and Barb Kurtz, who was the Spanish teacher who gave me the Spanish book over the summer and said, "Well, you're just going to have to learn Spanish 8, go home over the summer and learn it, and come back and you could be in Spanish 9 next year." And I did French and Spanish all throughout high school. I knew at a young age that I wanted to pursue a career in international relations and live around the world and represent our amazing country to foreign audiences around the world. I got to Mr. Mapes, Global Studies, in 10th grade. It's probably not right to say this, but Mr. Mapes was my hands-down favorite teacher in all of high school. Thank you, Mr. Mapes. He made global studies fun. We learned all sorts of really interesting things, and I was so on fire for learning about the world because of Mr. Mapes. I'll give you an example. I still remember very clearly, and I share this with my kids. He brought out Billy Joel's iconic "We Didn't Start the Fire." And we listened to that song, and he gave us the lyrics, and he explained every single reference to world history and events in that song. And I learned so much about the world through that lesson from Mr. Mapes. Thank you, Mr. Mapes. As Mr. Mapes said, he was also our student council advisor, and we worked side by side for 4 years together to do all sorts of community service activities and to travel around the state. And I learned so much about citizenship and commitment to your community through that experience. So I've been talking long enough. I just want to say in one word, I am incredibly grateful for having been raised here in this wonderful community, and thank you for this honor.
I just like singing the song. I didn't really know there was a purpose to it. It rhymed, and it was pretty awesome. I probably should have paid a little bit more attention. Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for Edward E.J. Monster. Congratulations. This next inductee, I had the privilege to work side by side with her for a long time, 10 years. I would like to personally say thank you for your guidance and mentorship when I was over at the primary school. I really appreciate it. And to the rest of the table, the rowdy bunch, Chris Spohr, I got to tell you, there's a board policy about retaining and recruiting and retaining quality teachers. You certainly did so. You had one marry right into the family. You take that stuff serious. So thank you. Our next inductee, Mary Ellen Webster, will be represented by her son Eli and introduced by Chris Spohr.
Dr. Aliotto, I have exactly 4 pages, just like you said earlier, but I have to go off script right now because, Edward, what you don't know is my mom is Barb Dance. And so that story, at first I didn't know where it was going. And so I was like, do I want to say anything or not? But thank you very much for that, and I will let her know. I sure will. So every once in a while, an opportunity comes along that you can't say no to, and this was one of those opportunities. I am very honored to be able to speak to Mary Ellen. There's much to say about what Mary Ellen has done for Dansville education. Have you ever looked into a mirror or wished you had a mirror that saw the very best in you and reflected it back? That's Mary Ellen as a teacher. She saw the best in you and let you know all the things you did right Imagine a child busy learning to unlock the mystery and break the code of reading, who has someone leading the way with support and encouragement. But here's the thing. When children learn to read, they also need lots of assessment. Some need to be patient with them, somebody to listen to them, and that's exactly who Mary Ellen was. She was an expert in filling the gaps in learning. She could spot the weaknesses in her students and talk to them in such a positive way that their weaknesses became the mountains that they had to climb, with her by their side, coaching and supporting them all the way. She was a mirror to hundreds of students, parents, and dozens of colleagues and administrators. Let us reflect on her profound impact, not only on her students' academic success, but also their confidence, courage, and creativity to engage with the world through reading and writing. Through her efforts, many have discovered the joy and power of literacy, unlocking doors to lifelong learning and opportunity. Mary Ellen started her career in Dansville in 1985. Now, the backstory to this is she was hired in October because the first grade classes were so full. So when Mary Ellen came in October, the first grade teachers chose the students that they sent to her. And she stayed despite that. She tells the story of them pushing their desks from their classroom to her classroom, and that's how she got started. She was a teacher who looped with her students, teaching the same children for 2 years. When she left her classroom to become a reading teacher, she taught kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. However, her biggest area of impact was as a literacy coach. As a literacy coach, she taught teachers and students in pre-K through sixth grade. She guided us to see the curriculum connections between grade levels and among classrooms. And remember what I said earlier about the mirror? She became the mirror for the teachers. She saw our strength and reflected it back. She saw our weaknesses and helped us to make those our mountains to climb. And she stayed by our side and helped us to do that, to become better at our craft. When someone becomes a lifelong learner and a teacher, there's always people who inspire them. And for Mary Ellen, there's 3 people who inspired her. One is her own first grade teacher, Mrs. Hearn, who she still sees when she goes home to Lakewood, New York. Another is her mom, Nancy Anderson, who's here tonight. Nancy read to all 3 children, and Nancy is another educator of over 30 years, as we discovered as we were chatting at our table today. She also credits her grandmother as being someone who helped her become a lifelong learner and reader because her grandmother read to her too. When asked why she loved literacy, Mary Ellen summed it all up with this statement: I recognize that reading could take you everywhere you wanted to go, whether applying for a job or going on to college, or just sitting down at the end of a day with a good book. Reading is everything. Mary Ellen spent her career as a beacon of inspiration, fostering the same love of reading and writing in every child she encountered. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't talk to other people who had Mary Ellen as their mentor. So I reached out to someone that Mary Ellen really took under her wing as a new teacher. So here are some things Barb Annabelle had to say about you. Mary Ellen taught me everything, seriously. To always put kids first and do what is best for them. To have high expectations and praise the positive. To make learning fun and engaging with the best stories, music, and teaching practices. To have fun with bulletin board competitions. To pick the sweetest, most tender, juicy milkweed leaves to feed to the monarch caterpillars. To partner with parents and recognize that parents are a child's first teacher. To stay on top of research and be a lifelong learner. And to meet children where they are and differentiate. And Barb said, that was before it became a buzzword. Take a moment to think about the passion and drive for literacy that she brought to our students over the years. Dansville children and families are lucky to have Mary Ellen's lasting impact on their lives, which is demonstrated by the fact that she remains in contact with many families and students. Please join me in congratulating Mary Ellen Webster.
A lot of great speakers here tonight. I'd hate to be the guy that follows them. Now, my mom was kind enough to let me speak, even though my aunt is much better at this than me. So I am her son. The name shouldn't trick you. Before I read her thanks that she wrote for me, I just wanted to add that never has a person been more perfect for teaching than my mother. She is, in every way, a teacher, and I am extremely proud of her. So here's hers. My son Eli will be delivering my response to being inducted into the Wall of Pride, because 3 years ago I had a stroke that affected my speech. It did not, however, affect my comprehension. I am grateful for this honor, and I think of Dansville as my second home. For 35 years, I taught here, and for 35 years, I made lifelong friends and memories. And for 35 years, I did what I love every single day. I would like to thank my family and my friends for supporting me, and I would also like to thank this wonderful community of Dansville. Thank you.
We get one more round of applause from Maryland Webster. Congratulations. And if we could get one more round of applause for all of our inductees, congratulations. You have represented us well. I've done this dinner a few times, and every year I leave here with a sense of, holy cow, I really got to get things going, because there's some amazing people out there, and I really haven't done that much. So thank you for everybody for representing our community so well. And I would also like to thank the foundation for putting this on. Thank you very much. Sue Seiler, thank you. Sue asks me every year to do this, and just look at her. You can't say no to Sue. Okay? I am getting pretty jealous of people that are retired. People that I coached, they're retired now, and I'm jealous. I don't have retirement plans, although it involves minimum security prison in Hawaii. I think I can get that done pretty quick. We do have some announcements here from the foundation. Thank you for your continued support for this event. Foundation for Dansville Education and Alumni Association believe the Wall of Pride brings distinction to our community's heritage. It is our hope that highlighting outstanding individuals with plaques hanging in the high school will inspire our students, staff, and guests. Next to each place setting are qualifications for the nominating of alumni or community members. Please consider nominating someone you feel is worthy of this distinction. Stay tuned for details of the 2025 Wall of Pride sometime in early January. This recognition will become part of Alumni Weekend, which is June 27th through 29th. Again, one more round for all of our inductees. And I will leave with a famous educational quote from Semisonic, who said, "You do not have to go home, but you cannot stay here." Seriously, they have to set up for bingo, but we do need pictures of all of our inductees up here. Again, thank you for coming. We really appreciate it.